First up, in the past 5 years, more than 47,000 Mexicans have died in drug-related violence. But a different kind of murderous crime spree continues to plague the country. In the early 1990s, the grisly discovery of female bodies littering the Mexican border town of Ciudad Juarez sparked international outrage. Almost 20 years later, the problem in Juarez not only remains, but in fact spread to other parts of Mexico as well. Meanwhile, grieving families of the dead women are stunned that little or nothing is being done to bring their killers to justice. America's Now contributing correspondent Ross Velton reports from Mexico on the startling phenomenon called femicide.
Dora Venzor grows melons in the sand. Last year she grew a big one. She cut it into pieces and took some round to her daughter, who loves the fruit. And that's when she knew.
Eran las 7:30 de la tarde noche. Llegué allá y le hablé a Andrea. Entonces salió el muchacho y me dice, no está.
A year and a half later, a bag of bones was delivered to Dora's house. They were Andrea, she was told, and then she was told no more.
Quería echarle ganas a la escuela, ella quería ser una gran enfermera.
But instead she became another unsolved murder of a woman in Ciudad Juarez. Now there was a time when the houses behind me weren't here. All there was sand, wind and a bit of scrub. And it was here about 20 years ago that the first female bodies were found. Now there are pink crosses all over Juarez. Some of them mark the spots where dead women were dumped. These graves with no epitaphs are asking the question, why? One answer comes from the historian Sergio Aguayo. He says women were vulnerable as soon as they started working in the factories of Juarez.
Underemployment of women transformed the gender role. Men all of a sudden were unemployed. They were not the providers. And at the same time, Ciudad Juarez is one of the most important routes for migrants and drugs. Therefore, you can see how the social fabric deteriorated and machismo appeared. So the weak link in the whole story were women, young women.
Dora thinks Andrea's boyfriend had something to do with her death. And Maria Garcia last saw her daughter when she went off to look for a job in a shoe shop. Maria thinks Jessica was kidnapped and then sold for sex by a Juarez gang before being killed. And Maria del Carmen Ortiz doesn't know if her niece is dead or alive. Nancy also went out job hunting, but never came back. Now she's one of the many Juarez women who have just disappeared. The suffering of these women is raw. They lost their girls in the last couple of years or so. Irma Casas works to stop violence against women in Juarez and says the problem is only getting worse.
Del año 2002 al año 2007 estaban, lo más alto de asesinatos eran 38 por año. En el 2008 fueron 83 mujeres asesinadas, en el 2009 163 y en el 2010 283. ¿Por qué suben? Pues por el grado de impunidad que hay en la ciudad. O sea, es una invitación a los asesinos, a sus agresores, de decirles, no te pasa nada, haz lo que quieras con ella.
The man in charge for speaking up for the state in Mexico to which Juarez belongs prefers to tell some better news.
El gobierno de Chihuahua está haciendo el mejor y el mayor de sus esfuerzos por resolver estos dramáticos problemas. Se dispone de tecnología de punta, absolutamente lo más moderno en la investigación forense.
And here they are, investigating. Cases have been solved, but many still lie in boxes, gradually getting cold. When the only clue is bones, forensics can sometimes look at the person inside the bones. The DNA gives an identity. And the identity inside Maria Garcia's bag of bones was Jessica, her daughter. But she wanted to know who killed Jessica. So when she came here, to the prosecutor's office in Juarez, to pick up Jessica's remains, she stayed to demand an investigation. Her protest lasted 4 days and 4 nights. Then the state governor came and promised something would be done. But Maria says so far, nothing has.
Ya no creemos en ellos. ¿Cómo vamos a creer? Si no investigaron cuando les llevaba pruebas, ahí está. hagan la orden de cateo. ¿Usted cree que lo van a hacer ahorita?
Maria's daughter, Dora's daughter, and many others have been victims of what some call femicide.
¿Qué es el feminicidio? Para nosotros es la muerte de una mujer en las manos de un hombre. Es la violencia llevada al extremo y que lógicamente termina en la pérdida de vidas.
And people say it's a problem which has spread across Mexico. Maria de la Luz Estrada is based in Mexico City and represents several groups across the country which are working to prevent femicide.
El Estado de México en los últimos 3 años ha reportado más asesinatos que en los anteriores años. Es decir, estamos hablando de que en los últimos 3 años estamos hablando de más de 700 mujeres asesinadas.
And in the state of Mexico, which is a short drive from the capital, there are mothers as desperate as those in Juarez. Irinia Buendia says her daughter was murdered. The state of Mexico says Mariana hanged herself.
Nosotros cuando llegamos, nosotros nunca vimos ningún cordón, ni nada de donde se pudiera colgar.
While Irinia feels someone has got away with murder, the prosecutor's office in the state of Mexico didn't return repeated calls from America's Now for a comment.
Feminicide is one extreme example of everything that is wrong in Mexico. Machismo, corruption, inefficiency, impunity.
These people aren't Mexicans. They're from countries further south, and they're chasing a dream of getting work, of bringing families together. But they have to get through Mexico first. Trains travelling north along these tracks carry migrants from Central America up through Mexico to the United States. It's a dangerous trip, especially for the women who dare to make it. Jefferson Brooks is from Nicaragua, and this is the 3rd time he's making the train journey to America. He's seen at first hand how risky it can be for women.
Yeah, they rape them and then leave them on the street like garbage, you know? Only blood, so from there every woman get afraid to take this trip on.
Odali Castellanos has taken it on. She's on her way to Florida to be with family. She's one of only a handful of women in this group of migrants. She's from Honduras.
Existe mucha maldad, existe mucha mara, ¿entiende? Hay mucha violencia, prácticamente están matando a la familia, la sacan hasta a las mujeres, por general las van a sacar hasta de la casa para matarlas, entonces hay mucho peligro para una mujer en Honduras.
Most of these dream chasers will soon be in northern Mexico, closer to where the nightmare of femicide began in Ciudad Juarez. Dora Venzor's nightmare isn't over yet. She still grows melons, but there's no Andrea to eat them. Part of her life has gone forever, and she still doesn't know why.